Well, I've been off of YouTube for, well, since the Massey Combine video came out, mostly because I've been busy and trying to get up on post-harvest stuff, and you know how that goes. But we're going to dig my 5488 out of the shed today. It needs a new steering hand pump, at least. It might need a relief valve messed with as well. It quit steering on me back in May when I was pulling a chisel with it, and basically I had to steer it back into the farm here with the steering brakes because it wouldn't steer anymore. It steered hard, couldn't turn the wheel hardly, which kind of leads me to believe it's a hand pump issue. I believe the hand pump on the tractor is actually the wrong one. I believe it's for a non-front wheel assist tractor. My 5488 is a front wheel assist tractor. It's an 84 model. It's got, I think, like 14,000 hours on it nowadays. I bought it with around 13,000 on it. Bought it in 2020. Used it to pull a baler some, and then started using it more for tillage. Baler kind of explains why it's spaced out wide, just because it was on a baler. But actually, we're going to put this thing in the shop. First thing we're going to do is take the duals off before it goes in the shop. We're going to fix the steering, and then I'd like to get it narrowed back up, at least the back end narrowed up onto 36 or 30 inch rows. So it's not quite so wide going down the road. We'll leave the front wide because these things steer like crap on 30 inch rows. They don't turn tight enough. So I like leaving this guy out wide, otherwise you can't hardly turn the thing around. But it's a really cool tractor. I kind of already started tearing the interior apart and then got swamped this summer. I never got to it, so we're going to fire this girl up and back it out the door. I legitimately do not remember the last time I started this tractor. I think it was probably like August or something. But we'll crawl up in here. It usually just fires right up. We'll let all the gauges come to white light. That takes a minute or two. Generally, there goes the oil pressure coming up. We'll let it idle here for a minute and we'll back her out the door. Okay, got her backed out. And as you can see, I can just barely steer it. It goes a little bit both ways, then I can just barely do it. So we got issues with the steering. So yeah, we'll get the duals knocked off. And I might not get them knocked off today because I got a different tractor in there I'd like to get out and play with this afternoon for a little bit while it's nice. But yeah, I don't know. It's a cool tractor. 4,037 hours. So yeah, 14,037. It's a pretty good old girl. I didn't pay that much for this thing, to be honest. I think my original investment was like 20,000. Then I put like $3,500 worth of parts into it at the time, and then I put front and rear tires on it since then. But we'll get out and walk around it. But I put a new interior in it and a new seat when I got it, polished and waxed it. It's pretty dirty. She's kind of a slobbery old girl, but she's cool as hell and looks awesome. I actually, when I got it, had fluid in the front tires to keep the front end from power hopping. Well, when I put new tires on, I didn't want to put more fluid in it, so I put one of these big old K&M spindle killer front weight brackets on and filled her full of weight. And that's still not as much weight as was in the tires before. It looks like I got a low tire there I need to air up before we go too far. But it's a big old girl. Sounds mean. You can hear this thing running from like 2 miles away in the field too. It was a pretty good tillage tractor though for us. Just simple, cheap horsepower more than anything. And I don't know. I love this tractor. It's cool. There aren't any other front wheel assist 88 series around that I know of in this area. And I actually went to western Kansas, even further western, out in the Goodland area for it. And I think it came out of eastern Colorado before that. But she's a cool rig. Got all LED lights on it. But yeah, we need to get the back end narrowed back up. I think it's on 36 inch or 40 inch. I don't really care to have it on exactly 30 inch rows. That doesn't really matter, but I'd like to get it narrower for going down the road because it's way wide right now, way wide. So I don't know, but we're gonna get out a different tractor next. Next up to come out of the shed, and this one I actually would like to run some today, is a 72 or 71 4166 International. Oh, looks like I tuned up a Ferguson here. Well, the next tractor I'd like to get out of the shed, and I'd actually like to run this a little bit this afternoon. I need to check hydraulic oil and diesel before we do that, and hopefully it starts. Hadn't run it again in probably 3 or 4 months. I think it's a 71 or 72 4166. Yeah. Just this one came out of Minnesota. A buddy of mine traded it to me in a trade deal for a few tractors. But she's a nice original 4166. And it needs wallet polish and wax up sometime, but it is fun. We use it to reclaim some railroad grade a couple years ago. And that's why we have a ripper on the back of it still, because that's pretty much what we use it for, is just ripping, honestly. But it's a big old thing. Well, we got her out of the shed. I had to jump start it and add some hydraulic fluid. It has an O-ring that leaks on the side of the transmission, so we were down a couple gallons, no big deal. We're gonna take it across the road and play around with some soybeans once it's warmed up a little bit. But that's just a little 3-shank Massey Ferguson ripper. Kind of cool little deal, because you can adjust the shanks. You just pull a pin and put them higher or lower, whatever. So we'll take it out here and see how deep we are. I got a ruler in my pocket to check that. But previous owner bypassed the 4-wheel steer. They just locked her rigid, unfortunately. So that's kind of unfortunate. Be nice to come up with a part someday to do away with that, or just update tractors altogether. But it's a pretty good running girl. Like I said, we pulled this ripper and a sawed disc to break out some old railroad right away a couple years ago, and just do some ripping with it here and there. Plan on using it more this year. Rip all the terraces on all the soybean ground to better increase water infiltration, and I'll explain that more when we get out there. But it's pretty basic, old girl. I made a mess putting hydraulic fluid in. That's no shock. Gauges are just like a 56 or 66 series International. It's 4 forward gears and it's 4 gears and 2 ranges and a reverse. You can switch between 2 and 4-wheel steering and 2 and 4-wheel drive. We'll get it out to 4-wheel drive here in a minute. But it's just pretty solid, old girl. 3-point up downs over here. You got 2 remotes right there. I'm actually going to attempt to use the heater in here in a minute. Maybe not. Oh, there we go. We'll find out if the heater works. It'll probably just start dripping coolant down out of the ceiling, and then we know the heater does not work. But we'll let it warm up here for a few more minutes, and then just take her across the road. Well, we're just cruising along out here at a steady about 3.5 mile an hour. I'm not quite full throttle yet because we're not completely warmed up, but we're just ripping along here. As you can see, where the black area is the low spot, what we call a terrace channel. Everything around here is terraced to hold water, not run water off. They're on level terraces. So what we do is rip these terraces as deep as we can to try to get water to infiltrate that better so it doesn't pool. If it pools, it drowns crops out in a wet year. So we just kind of drive along here and follow the contour and rip her in. But we'll stop here shortly and I'll kind of explain what we're doing. Put her in neutral. Step out here. But yeah, I think I got this thing in the ground about 12 to 18 inches. Not completely sure yet. We'll get a ruler out and shove it in the dirt and check. But we've got bigger rippers, but I like to use this guy close to the farm here. So I got my handy dandy pocket ruler here with me. Just shove her in right there, and we're about 13 inches deep. That'll help break up some hard pan here and get some infiltration going on. So that's pretty good, but we're just gonna sit here and run for an hour. It's gonna get dark here pretty soon, but then we'll call it a day, play with this another time. Ground's nowhere near froze yet. We've been having 50-degree days, so plenty of time to play around with this stuff. Well, we're still rolling along. We're gonna be here a little while. There's, I think, 8 terraces on this field to do, but the the plan after this is in the spring, a couple weeks ahead of planting, we'll take our fallow master to the soybean stubble and work it, and that'll help lift up and kill some resistant grasses we've been having issues with, and create a really nice seed bed to plant into. But yeah, it's pretty un-action-packed stuff. Just wide open throttle, about 3.5 mile an hour, and we hope we don't kill it when we hit a hard spot. And that's about it. Just keep going back and forth. Well, that's it for today, guys. We'll get more updates as we work on the 5488 here in the future. We're gonna fix all the hydraulic issues on that thing, get steering back in it. My 1206 needs to come into the shop at some point in time to get a head gasket, so we'll have video of that. And there's a lot more stuff along the way too. I don't know, we're gonna work on planters, a bunch of other stuff for next year. So there'll be plenty of shop projects to talk about this winter and plenty of machinery trading going on. We're just trying to wrap up the end of the year stuff and move on to the new year. So everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I don't know if I'll have a video next week. Just kind of depends how life is going. I'm planning on being out of town next weekend, so I might not be around very much at all. So thanks for tuning in, and go drag something out of the weeds and get it running.